Hi, I'm Kelly and welcome to Kapowski Reads. And it's Friday. It's Friday and that can only mean one thing, that I want a Friday book. And I know what you're thinking. That's not a thing. A Friday book isn't a thing. Totally is. I I like to start the weekend with a book for the weekend. And then I give myself the goal of reading that book over the weekend, usually when I have absolutely no plans. And this week a new book came out and I had pre-ordered it. So it arrived and I cannot really put into words the sheer dopamine hit that I got from receiving a new book during my low spend year where I'm not buying books, with the exception of pre-orders that I made last year. So I have received So Let Them Burn by Camilla Cole and I'm so excited about this. I lost my bookmark, so I'm using a post-it. I don't even think it kind of shows. I am currently chapter 7 and I'm really enjoying it so far. I will tell you what this book is about first. That makes more sense. This is a young adult fantasy featuring two sisters, one of whom is sort of like the chosen one and the other has just dreams of being in a sort of like a flying squad for the army. Their world has been torn apart by war and this book is set 5 years after a great battle has taken place. We have Farron, who is the younger sister, and she's got like the power of the gods within her. And she's kind of, now that she's no longer fighting a war, she's kind of using her powers for hijinks, getting up to no good, getting into sort of debates with boys at school who want to beat her in like a running race. And she's like, I've got the power of the gods, so gonna win. And her older sister, Alara, is kind of the protector. She's quite the opposite character-wise, and she just really wants to fly in this really cool sounding device. And currently I am at the section in the book where both of the sisters have gone off to a peace treaty, sort of to deal with the fallout of the aforementioned war. And I know from the blurb that Alara is going to basically be imprinted on by a dragon from the enemy side. And Farron has got the gods inside of her being like, you kind of have to destroy your sister. And I'm not there yet in the book, but because I know it's coming, I'm just finding it so exciting. I'm really liking the dynamic between the sisters. It feels so authentic in that sort of way of you torment each other, but you love each other, but only you can torment each other. Nobody else can get involved. It's just you two. And I'm loving the world building. I would have loved a little bit of a prologue to know a little bit more about what had happened, but I wonder if that's maybe going to come. Like, I'm only 66 pages in and there's still 300 pages or so left, so I'm hoping that's going to come. I'm really loving it. There's maybe a little suggestion of a potential romance that I would not be opposed to. And I'm really excited about the dragon. I know there is a dragon in the book. Fantasy book, dragons, sisters, love it. I'm so excited. I'm gonna go and read some more of this and I'm just gonna have a cozy weekend. I'm delighted. It's been an interesting day. My plan for today was that we would go to town and pick up some coffee for the house, and we were gonna go and get coffee to drink outside as well, and then just come home, have a very easy day. I want to continue reading So Let Them Burn. I made a little bit of a start yesterday and I'm in. I'm so invested. My partner has some models that he wants to work on today, so we were gonna do our own thing before meeting up at dinner time when we will be watching Gladiators. I don't know if anybody's been watching the new series of Gladiators, but I loved it so much when I was a kid, and I swear I cried the entire first episode last week. I felt that sort of like nostalgic buzz of just sheer joy, but also like the celebration of all the different sort of body types were just, oh, I mean, different body types that were all, you know, swole, but like there was a lot of representation that the original series didn't have, and it just made me cry. It was an emotional wreck. But then I realised something that changed the rest of my plans for today. And that something was that I have book club tomorrow. I have Charlotte's first book club tomorrow, and that will have been posted before this video is, but I will link it in the description because I'm expecting it to be so much fun. Anyway, I thought book club was next week, and if you have ever been in a book club with me, you will know that I read quite quickly, which means that I tend to get through a few books in a month. So I like to read my book club book the week of book club so that it's kind of fresh in my brain. So I hadn't started my book club book, and then I realised I have to have it finished by tomorrow. So I came home and my plan for the rest of the day is I'm going to be reading Perfect Remains by Helen Fields. I'm still planning to finish the other books I was planning to finish this week, but I'm squeezing this one in, and it is my priority read for today, Saturday. It is 408 pages long, and I am currently on page 110, and it took me an hour and 20 minutes to get this far. I'm not loving it, but I'm only just over a quarter of the way through, so I might grow to love it. I don't like the main character, but I like the secondary main character. I love Ava Turner, love her. I'd like a whole series about her. I don't care about Luke Kalanick. I will let you know how I get on with the rest of it. And then we get back to our normal plan. But let's see if I can smash out another 100 pages or so before it's time for dinner. I should be able to read another 100 pages. I really want to get halfway through the book before Gladiators because I want to be able to really enjoy that and, I don't know, cry at people doing sports. I'll report back in a bit. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm filming this 1 week after, 1 week and a day after I finished the last segment of this video, because that book put me in a reading slump. Oh, so I didn't enjoy the book club book. I have nothing nice to say about the book other than that it reminded me of other books that did the same thing in a way I did like. So I'm not gonna be negative about it other than that little bit of negativity there, but it put me in such a reading slump. And I feel like forcing yourself to read something you don't enjoy for fun it's stupid. I was stupid. I should have just DNF'd the book because I wasn't liking it, and instead I read 400 pages in a day and I didn't have a nice time, and then I didn't want to read anything for 8 days, and that just feels so unlike me to not read something. I mean, on the other hand, my Stardew Valley farm is going swimmingly. I started a new playthrough and already I've got people I can marry. So, you know, peaks and troughs. One part of my life is going great, my Stardew Valley farm. But reading wise, I did not pick up another book until today when I returned to So Let Them Burn. I didn't want to force myself to read this because it's one of my most anticipated reads of the year, and why force myself if I'm not if I'm not feeling it, I just waited. I'm now over halfway through and oh, ah, ha, ha, ha. Don't know what that noise was, but I'm having such a great time with this book. It is dual perspective, which I think I did mention, just I vaguely touched upon the plot. I'm going to give you a little bit more with no spoilers. None, because this book is new and it would be so cruel to give spoilers. So I'm going to talk through it, but I'm not going to give you any like secrets that are happening in the book. Those are things you can find out yourself. And I hope you do. I mean, unless something awful happens in the last 100 or so pages, I hope you do, because it's great. This is dual perspective, and I feel like dual perspective works so well in this book so far. So we have Farron, who is the younger sister. She has got the power to communicate with the gods, and she is on this island where they had had a revolution. They had stood up against a nation that was oppressing them, and they gained their independence, and things are still very fresh even though it's 5 years later. And Farron's sister has been chosen. Sorry, I have a piece of hair that's sticking to my face. Farron's sister Alara has been imprinted upon by a dragon, and that dragon just happens to be part of the army for the Langley Empire, who were the oppressors. So now Alara, our second perspective, she is off to Langley Empire to go to a dragon school. And this dragon school, oh, I'm loving the whole concept of this dragon army school, because they've got these cool uniforms that are like, yeah, we were rad because our dragon's rad. And they all have like jewelry that's like got dragon bits in it because that's how they get magic. But it's just so fun that there's these, like, I don't know if they're rich kids, but they give me like, rich kids. 14 generations of my family have gone to this school. That's the vibe that a lot of these kids are giving me. And they've got like these like knuckle dusters of like dragon claws, and I'm like, oh yeah, look how cool you are with your leather trousers and your wee knuckle dusters. It's so funny because like the baddies in the school, the sort of school bullies, are kind of like, we're so tough, and I'm like, you're giving me tough guy vibes from like a high school musical performance of Grease where you're just clicking your fingers like you're a bad guy and nobody's intimidated. So I'm finding that to be so fun. I'm loving Alara, the older sister. She has never had a chance to really be seen as an individual. She's always been the sister of the kind of chosen one, and I'm loving her standing up for herself, taking no nonsense from these bullies, and I just want her to have a great time. I'm rooting for her. I'm really also kind of rooting for a little romance between Alara and her co-pilot of the dragon, who, shall we just say, like, I love the dragon. The dragon is not a huge character, but the dragon shows up every so often and says something whimsical or profound, and I'm like, of course, love this dragon. So far we are just having Farron back at her homeland working together with Alara's best friend to try and find a way to unlink Alara from the dragon. Because if anything happened to the dragon, that's going to happen to Alara. So she doesn't want to harm her sister, but you know, there's a dragon army, and that dragon army is probably not going to be peaceful. So I'm loving this book so far. I know it's a start of a series, might be a trilogy, I don't know yet, but I know it's maybe not going to end like neatly. There's going to be a cliffhanger, and I don't know how I feel about that. I know I want to read the next 100 pages. I also feel like sometimes it's really hard to have multiple perspectives. There's always a weaker POV, but I don't feel like that is the case with this book. There's not a perspective that I'm like, oh, skip. That's not happening. I'm fully invested in both of these sisters and their tales. So my plan for the rest of the day is I've got laundry to do. I've put on a load earlier. I'm such a grown-up. I'll need to take care of that, and I need to change the bed. The bed is here. That's why I'm sort of looking at it. Change the bed, and I'm going to go on a walk we have a teenager who does not want to go for a walk, so we're going to wait until she gets picked up, and then we're going to go out for our Sunday walk, and maybe I'll make some soup. Such a grown-up today. I'm wearing unicorn slippers right now, so I'm not too much of a grown-up. I also hope I'm going to finish this book, and I'm really having a good time, and I'm so glad that I let myself not read to get over the slump. Let's hope that that pays off, because I really want this to be a success, and it is so far. I'll report back when I finished it. I have finished So Let Them Burn, and OMG, the ending of this book was exquisite. I need book 2. Like, I need it now, and I don't know if it's even written. I don't know when it's coming out, because book 1 has literally just come out, and already I want book 2. I need to know what happens next. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I thought that the first, maybe like third, was like a 4-star. Then there's a little bit of a lull in the middle, went down to 3, and then that last third, 5. Take them all. So rounded out as a 4, and overall I had a really good experience with this book, and I had a great time. I absolutely adored the 2 main characters, Farron and Alara. I loved their development. They were quite young. Like, this is a YA book. They were 17 and 18, I think. So there were some moments where their actions, I was a bit like, like, why would you have done that? And then I have to remind myself, sometimes you make decisions in your youth that you look back at and go, what was I thinking? And I feel like there were some moments in this book that I have to just chalk up to youth and be like, yeah, they made that choice. I don't agree with it, but I'm not that character. So, let them make it. I think it's a silly choice, but let them be. I love the way that the bond between the sisters, while they were apart on 2 very different islands and living 2 very different experiences, one with sort of their home, they feel safe, and the other one very much in a viper den, feeling so unsafe, literally living with the enemy in a nation that tried to destroy her home. And they're going through so many different things, but they have that common goal of basically saving their world. And it just brings them so much closer together. And I felt like they really got to know each other on a sort of more, like, not mature level, because that sounds a really horrible way of saying it. But it felt like they got to know each other as they grew. As they themselves grew, they got to know the other one. And it just felt like such a beautiful bond. And I love a book with a really authentic sibling relationship, and I felt like this gave me it. I could imagine, had this book come out 20 years ago when I was 17, I could imagine reading this with my sister and being like, which one are you? But I love the way that the characters got to become so much more than what they were on the surface. Like, Farron was introduced as just being this sort of out of control, like, bad-tempered, kind of gobby young woman who just wanted to, like, cause chaos, and Alara was this studious young woman who just wanted to be in the flying force and protect her country. And it sort of felt like there was a very obvious, this is the good sister, this is the bad sister, even though she's the chosen one, so that makes her the good one. And I really like the way that it was sort of told that there's so much more than just good and bad, and they got to really just shine, and sort of Alara got to sort of have a moment of being selfish, which she never would have before. And Farron was almost forced to think of others first because her sister, her favorite person in the world, was in danger. And I felt like there was just so much development. These characters grew in leaps and bounds, and I just loved them. I loved them so much. I loved the relationships that they had. I was very keen to find out what was happening for both stories, and when they came together, so good. I felt like the end of this book it felt like it came from nowhere, because I was just reading this story and it was slowly developing, and you could feel things were coming. Things were boiling and simmering. I mean, they would simmer before they boiled, but you get the gist. And because this is part of a series, a part of a new series, I didn't know how much we were gonna get, how much action. And it came. It came so quickly. And it was so exciting, so fast-paced, so unexpected. Like, I kind of had an inkling of what was gonna happen, but I gasped. I called my partner through so that I could tell him everything that had happened in this book. I was very, very excited about the ending, and I needed to talk about the ending with somebody who wasn't gonna read the book. I felt like the world building in this story was absolutely exquisite. I felt like I could really imagine the world. I believe that the story is inspired by Jamaica. So, you know, you sort of know the layout of geography, but this magical world set upon these islands just felt so realistic. And I just thought it just sounded amazing. You could feel the heat from the book. And I think that that was probably my favourite part of this book, was the world building. I would have, because I'm greedy, I would have loved a prologue. There was a huge twist in this book that it came out of nowhere, because there was never like any hint of it. So when that came, I went back and read some previous bits, because I was like, did I miss the foreshadowing? But no, it came from nowhere, and I kind of would have liked a little, even just 10 pages of like, in the before times, blah blah blah, and this happened. I think that's probably what would have maybe increased this book to like a 4.5. But I understand why there wasn't a prologue, and I did enjoy finding out what had happened as we went along. I just, you know what, I like a wee bit of a backstory, and I like to know where I am. So I'm on a high, having read a 4-star book after a slump. So I thought, let's just ride that wave and see if I can fit another book into this vlog. And I think I can. I am going to be reading You Wouldn't Catch Me Dead by Tess James Mackay. This is a YA thriller, and it is all set in Wales, in the Welsh wilderness. There is a school trip, camping trip, and they full of, you know, the most sort of studious of students. They have embarked on this trip, and things start to go wrong. Bodies start to pile up, and it looks like something or someone is knocking them down. And our protagonist, Keely, is running from some events in her past, and it kind of looks like maybe they've caught up with her. I really want to read this book because it is another of my anticipated reads. And also, I hate camping. I hate it. I went on a school trip when I was 17, and we went to Lochiel, and my stepkids have literally just done the same horrible school trip that I did, but they only did it for 2 days. And I'm like, you don't know what it was like. I did a week and I hated it. I'm not outdoorsy, but I hate camping. I hate hiking. I love a wee woodland walk. Give me a woodland walk any day. Like, if it's dry, I like a woodland walk, but I do not enjoy gambling up a hill like a mountain goat. We used to go on hikes every end of term at school, so I'm just like, oh, I hate hiking, I hate camping. And I sort of thought a book with a murdery school trip in with camping felt like, yeah. It felt like, I don't know, like I was gonna get my revenge on camping. That makes no sense. It sounded like it was gonna be creepy and enjoyable, but also set in one of my most hated settings, which adds to the sort of fear because I don't like camping. I will report back and let you know. I'm hopeful I'll get through it. It doesn't, I think it's like 300 pages, so there should be time. I have finished You Wouldn't Catch Me Dead. I meant to come in and report halfway through, but that didn't happen. I read this book in 24 hours in 2 sittings. I started reading the book last night before bed, which in hindsight, don't read a creepy thriller before bed if you are prone to getting freaked out like me. Because I had some really weird dreams and I feel they were related to reading this book shortly before going to sleep. I read the first 60% of this book last night before bed. And then I spent work being like, I need to read it, need to read it, need to read it. And then I finished a little bit earlier than I normally would so that I could finish the book. And oh, this was so good. So it is, like I said, it is a camping trip, school camping trip gone awry. These academically quite gifted students are off on a wilderness trip to the Welsh countryside, and they find themselves in peril. They show up and there's no sort of phone reception. It's very isolated. And there is a phone box. So they're like, it's fine, you know, if we need anything, there's a phone box. Day 1, they arrive and their teacher, the one leading the expedition, falls off into a ravine and he is no more. And they're a bit like, what do we do? We are 6 kids, you know, one teacher missing and the other teacher is not very useful. Clearly doesn't want to be there. And they panic and they don't know what to do. So head back to camp and find out that the phone box doesn't work. So what are you going to do? There's no way to call for help. So the remaining teacher decides that she is going to go off hiking to the nearby village to get help. So leaves these 6 kids alone on an isolated hill, which is near a kind of dilapidated monastery and abbey where these monks used to be, and the abbey had gone on fire, killing all of the monks. There were various ghost stories surrounding these monks. So we've got this isolated setting, we've got this dead teacher, we've got this other teacher missing, we've got these students just there, and we've got these ghost stories about what happened with the monks. And it's all very creepy. And the first night that they sleep there, they are sort of pelted with pebbles. So it's kind of like somebody sees them and is like dropping stuff in. It's too many pebbles for it to be like local wildlife. So it seems very suspicious. The walk to the nearby village should have only taken a couple of hours, even though the teacher who's gone off to go get help, not very outdoorsy. She should have gotten there and gotten help by the time the kids have woken up, but she hasn't. They've not heard from anybody. And in desperation, 2 of the students decide that they're going to go off and try and get help as well. So it was just really tense, being like, is help coming? Help should be coming. Why is help not coming? These are children that are like up a mountain, like up a hill. What? There's no supervision. And it was very just like tense because you had that feeling that they were being watched, but you didn't know by who or by what. Because of the story surrounding the monks, it was very creepy, and I wasn't sure if this story was going to be like paranormal or if it was going to be like a person hunting them. I just didn't know. Additionally, Keely, our protagonist, she had a bit of a past. So she's new to this school and she's only doing the school trip so that people will leave her alone. She doesn't want to make friends. She had lost her best friend Amy the year before, and it's not quite clear under what circumstances or really what is meant by her having lost Amy, because initially it's unclear whether just the friendship ended or Amy was no longer with us. We don't know. It's brought out very, very gradually and revealed what happened with Amy and with Keely, and you kind of get to see why Keely is a bit scared that somebody has come for her. I thought this was so tense. I was genuinely fearful for these children. Bodies start piling up and it was very, like, it wasn't a graphic description, but the way that the bodies were found was very, the action that had been taken was very visceral, and you could just imagine like how horrific. First of all, your teacher's fallen in a ravine, you're stranded, and now there are these bodies that have been horrifically maimed and you don't know by whom or by what, and it was just so tense. I did not want to put this down, but I had to go to sleep. It was very creepy, very unnerving, and I thought that this book, it was very similar vibe wise to After the Hole by Guy Burt. It gives you that sort of creepy school adventure gone wrong, psychological, like everything in that book is just messing with your head, and it made me feel quite queasy, but in a sort of really just in a good way. Like, I had a great time with this book. I want to read more books by this author. This book came out in January. This was one of my January anticipated reads and did not disappoint. Highly recommend this. I've had, let's take away the reading slump. If I didn't try and force myself to read my book club book in a day, I would have had an amazing reading time with these two books. And I did still have an amazing reading time with these two books. I just wouldn't have had that, you know, slump in the middle. But I'm so glad that I had my reading slump and I just let it be. For me, the only thing I can do when I have that slump is just ride it out by just not reading. Just, you know, don't pick anything up until you feel inspired to do so. And I feel like that's what stopped me from like tainting these books, because I don't know if I would have loved them so much if I was forcing myself to read them. And I wasn't forcing myself to read these. I wanted to. And I had the best time. I'm so happy I read these. These are both new releases, just recently out. So if you are able to get your hands on copies of these books, then I highly recommend giving them a whirl. I would love to know what you've been reading. Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!